Do you think saving money will get you rich? Wait, watch, and listen to this story. This is a story about two people who loved each other, and one simple decision that changed both of their lives forever. Her name was Margaret. His name was Thomas. They got married young, poor, and full of hope. And for 15 years they lived side by side, doing two very different things with the same kind of money. Thomas saved his. Margaret invested hers. At first, nobody could tell who was making the smarter choice. That's the part of this story people forget. It doesn't look different in the beginning. It only looks different at the end. Thomas was a careful man. He didn't drink much. He didn't take risks. Every payday, he took a portion of his salary straight to the bank and put it into his savings account. He was proud of this habit. He had learned it from his father, who had learned it from his father before him. Work hard, save your money, and you will be safe. Every year, Thomas watched the number in his bank book grow a little bigger. It made him feel secure. It made him feel like he was doing the right thing. Margaret did something different. She ran a small business selling homemade goods at the local market. Instead of saving her profits, she used them. She bought more supplies when prices were low. She bought a second table at the market. Later, she hired someone to help her sell. Every time she made a little money, she put it back into growing what she had. Thomas didn't understand it. "You're taking a risk with our money," he told her one evening. "I'm not gambling with mine. I'm keeping it safe." Margaret just smiled and kept working. Here is something most people don't think about. Saving money keeps it safe from being spent, but it does not keep it safe from something much quieter: the slow rise in the cost of everything around us. Every year, the same amount of money buys a little less than it did the year before. A loaf of bread costs more, rent costs more, petrol costs more. This is called inflation, and it happens so slowly that most people never notice it. Thomas's savings account kept growing in numbers, but the value of those numbers was quietly shrinking every single year. He felt richer because the figure in his book kept climbing. In truth, his money was buying less and less as time went on. Margaret's business, on the other hand, was not just sitting still. It was growing. Every table she added, every helper she hired, every bit of profit she reinvested, it all worked together to create more value than it started with. Her money wasn't just surviving, it was multiplying. By the 10th year, Margaret had gone from one small stall to 3. She had 2 employees. She wasn't wealthy yet, but her business was becoming something real, something that could keep growing on its own. Thomas still had his savings book. It still showed a bigger number every year. He was proud of it. He had no idea how much smaller that number had actually become. Nobody expects the bank they trust to fail. That's exactly why it's so painful when it happens. After many years, the bank where Thomas kept all his savings ran into serious trouble. It had made bad decisions with people's money, and slowly, quietly, it began to collapse. By the time the news reached ordinary customers, it was already too late. Thomas tried to withdraw his money and found he couldn't get all of it back. In the end, he received only a small part of what he had saved for 15 years. Everything he had built, one careful deposit at a time, was gone in a matter of months. Margaret had never put all her money in one place. Some of it stayed in her business. Some of it went toward a small piece of land she had bought years earlier. Some of it she kept with a trusted savings group. When the bank collapsed, it barely touched her because her money had never depended on just one place to stay safe. Thomas sat with Margaret one evening, quiet, trying to understand what had happened. "How did you know this would happen?" he asked her. Margaret shook her head. "I didn't know the bank would fail," she said gently. "I just always believed that money sitting still doesn't stay the same. It either grows or it slowly disappears. I didn't want to find out the hard way which one was happening to mine. The lesson. This is not a story about a foolish man. Thomas was disciplined. He worked hard. He did everything he was taught to believe was responsible. But being careful with money and being smart with money are not always the same thing. Saving protects your money from being wasted. It does not protect your money from losing its value over time, or from disappearing if the place you trusted with it fails. Investing in a business, in land, in something that can grow, gives your money a chance to grow faster than the forces working against it. It also means that if one thing goes wrong, you still have other things standing. Thomas spent 15 years being careful. Margaret spent 15 years being patient and willing to grow. In the end, one path led to loss, and the other led to something lasting. Years later, Thomas worked alongside Margaret in the business she had built from nothing. He often told people the same thing when they asked him about those years. I thought I was playing it safe. I was really just standing still. And standing still, when everything else is moving, is its own way of falling behind. Please subscribe to my channel. Tell me to drop more on the comment section. This will help and motivate me to tell you more historical and financial stories that will help you build your own empire and establish greatness. Also, don't forget that I love and care about you.